The future is approaching fast. Don't blink. Welcome to the Auto Brief News, broadcasting live from our studio in Switzerland. I'm Amber Light, your resident telemetry architect, digital strategist, and today, an admirer of highly specific British geometry.
And I'm Jim Khana. Keep the shiny side up, mate. I am the resident analog purist, and I am currently vibrating with a level of joy that is completely inappropriate for a Wednesday morning.
It is Wednesday, July 15th, 2026. Now, our dedicated listeners know the editorial calendar. Wednesdays in the studio are strictly reserved for dissecting new EV press releases. However, today, we are executing a deliberate override of our own programming logic. We are looking at a car that still burns ancient dinosaurs. Why? Because sometimes heritage demands a disruption of the schedule. We are looking at the new Mini Cooper Oxford Edition.
I haven't been this happy since you accidentally unplugged your Smart Loft's Wi-Fi router, Amber. I read your piece on the Garage blog yesterday. The Oxford equation, geometry, heritage, and the modern Mini. You managed to praise a petrol-powered hatchback. Miracles do happen.
I praised its geometric signature, Jim, not its emissions. But before we get into the tactile UI of the steering wheel and the completely illogical inclusion of a walking stick, let's route a signal to the technical partners who keep our studio broadcasting.
This transmission is brought to you by our partners at mynotespace.com. In an era where your telemetry is stored in a cloud server you can't see, touch, or trust, you need a physical backup. If it isn't written down, it's just a rumor. Keep your data analog at mynotespace.com.
All right, let's decrypt the blueprints of the Mini Cooper Oxford Edition. To understand why this car exists, we have to look at the timeline. It has been exactly a quarter of a century, 25 years, since the first modern Mini rolled off the production line in Oxford back in 2001, following the BMW Group's acquisition and reinvention of the brand.
And let's not forget the actual genesis. The classic Mini was first built there in 1959. Sir Alec Isagonis created a car that was a masterclass in packaging. He pushed the wheels to the absolute corners of the chassis, turned the engine sideways, and created a car that was tiny on the outside, but cavernous on the inside. It was cheap, it was brilliant, and it accidentally became one of the greatest rally cars of the 20th century because it handled like a go-kart.
It was a brilliant exercise in volumetric optimization. And Mini Plant Oxford isn't just a manufacturing facility, it is the spiritual anchor of the brand. This Oxford edition is a celebration of that specific lineage. And they have done it by utilizing what I call visual anchors.
You mean they painted a giant flag on the roof?
It is not just a flag. It is a contemporary interpretation of the Union Jack on a white contrast roof. And from a purely design-oriented perspective, it is a brilliant move. The central red and white stripe of the flag doesn't just sit statically on top of the car. It runs the entire longitudinal axis of the vehicle. It acts as a visual tie bar for the chassis, pulling the eye from the front windshield straight back to the rear spoiler. It gives the car a sense of forward momentum, even when parked.
A visual tie bar? Amber, it's a racing stripe wrapped in patriotism. But I will admit, it looks fantastic, especially when you pair it with the right paint job. They are offering 3 exterior colors: chili red, blazing blue, and indigo sunset blue.
I wrote about the indigo sunset blue in my blog. It has a deep architectural saturation. When you contrast that rich dark blue against the stark white mirror caps and the white contrast roof, it creates an incredibly optimized silhouette. It pops perfectly against the gray, overcast skies of a typical British afternoon.
And they nailed the stance. It sits on 18-inch slide-spoke two-tone wheels. They didn't just pull these off the standard parts shelf either. They have edition-specific details on the wheel hub and the valve cap covers. It's those little obsessive details that separate a true special edition from a marketing gimmick.
Speaking of details, we must clarify a very specific piece of data from the press release. This new Mini Cooper Oxford edition is a completely separate and newly introduced special edition for the European and global markets. It is distinctly different from the long-established Oxford edition that has been sold in the US market for years. Despite the similarity in nomenclature, they are entirely separate products with no connection.
Right, so don't go marching into a dealership in Ohio expecting this exact spec sheet. Now, let's move inside the cockpit, because this is where the heritage really bleeds through.
The interior telemetry is where the macro themes transition to the micro. At the very bottom of the steering wheel, the 6 o'clock element, they have placed a textured, printed Union Jack flag.
It's a lovely touch. When you are feeding the wheel through your hands on a tight B road, your fingertips brush against that texture. It's a physical, tactile reminder of where the car comes from. It's mechanical sympathy translated into interior trim.
But my absolute favorite feature is the floor mat logic. It is a brilliant example of asymmetric UI.
Asymmetric UI. You are talking about the carpets, Amber.
It matters. On the driver's side floor mat, you have a circular Union Jack emblem. On the passenger side floor mat, you have a circular checkered flag. It divides the cabin conceptually. The driver's side represents the heritage, the origin, the Oxford roots. The passenger side represents the motorsport pedigree, the rally history, the speed. It is a binary, logical separation of the brand's two defining pillars.
I just like that it looks like a proper racing paddock inside. And they even threw in bespoke door sills, so you are reminded of the 25-year milestone every time you open the door. But let's talk about the thing that actually makes this car move. The performance variable.
The Oxford edition is available as both the Mini Cooper C and the Mini Cooper S. For the sake of the data, we are focusing on the Cooper S.
The S, the one you want. The internal combustion engine. Real, physical explosions happening under the bonnet.
The WLTP combined fuel consumption is 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers, with CO2 emissions standing at 150 grams per kilometer. It's a familiar equation, and while I normally champion the 800-volt architectures and zero-emission platforms of tomorrow, I can respect the application here. The Cooper S is tuned for darting, urban agility. It is a precision instrument designed for the narrow, chaotic streets of a European city.
It's a car that you wear, Amber. You don't just sit in a Mini, you strap it on. The short overhangs, the wide track, the immediate steering response. You point the nose, and the chassis follows instantaneously. It is the antithesis of these bloated, 2.5-ton autonomous driving pods that the industry keeps trying to force-feed us. It's a car that actually requires and rewards a driver.
I agree that the dynamic handling is exceptionally well calibrated. However, there is a component to this release that I find highly unoptimized.
Oh, here we go. The digital strategist has found a glitch in the matrix. What's wrong?
The lifestyle ecosystem. Mini has released what they call the Oxford Capsule. It is a collection of lifestyle products designed to match the vehicle. A mini traveler bag, unisex t-shirts, a special cap, detailed stickers.
I don't see the problem. People love merchandise. If you buy a special edition car, you want the jacket to match.
I don't mind the textiles. The dark blue finish mirrors the indigo sunset blue paintwork beautifully. The aesthetic consistency is very high. My issue is with the final item on the list, the iconic mini umbrella walking stick. The press release literally calls it an essential for the British summer. Jim, combining an umbrella with a walking stick is an ergonomic nightmare. It's a compromised multi-tool. If you are using it to walk, you are degrading the structural integrity of the umbrella shaft. If it's raining, you lose your mobility aid.
Amber, you are trying to apply server farm logic to a rainy afternoon in the Cotswold. It's a walking stick umbrella. It's for a gentleman taking a stroll through a wet paddock at Goodwood. It has a heavy wooden handle, a sturdy spike at the bottom, and it keeps your tweed jacket dry. It is the most brilliantly British accessory I have ever heard of. I want 2 of them.
It is a romanticized anachronism, much like your obsession with carburetors.
And much like the classic Mini itself. The whole point of this car, and this Oxford edition, is romance. It's about feeling a connection to a specific place, plant Oxford, and a specific era of driving. If you strip all the romance out of the automotive industry, you are just left with heavily taxed public transport.
I prefer to call it highly efficient transit, but point taken. The Oxford edition is a rare moment where logic and emotion actually find a balance. It proves that even in the modern era, A car can remain a style icon if the geometric details are executed with enough precision. Before Jim starts reciting British poetry to his walking stick, let's open up the communication frequency to you, our listeners. It's time for the community poll.
Let's see where the helmet mascot is driving today.
Every week on our Instagram, represented by our helmet mascot, we pose a highly specific scenario. This week, you are behind the wheel of the Mini Cooper S Oxford Edition, painted in indigo sunset blue. You are darting through the wet, narrow cobblestone streets of London. The 18-inch slide-spoke wheels are splashing through puddles, and the Union Jack roof is reflecting the neon lights of Soho. What 1970s cassette tape is blasting in the cabin?
You are in a British icon, tearing through the streets of London, in a car that is punchy, rebellious, and sharply dressed. You cannot play anything electronic. You cannot play anything slow. You need the sound of the British mod revival. I'm sliding in the Jam, Setting Suns. Specifically, the track In the City from their debut, or maybe Going Underground. It's sharp, it's frantic, it has that aggressive Rickenbacker guitar tone, and it perfectly matches the darting, hyperactive steering rack of a Cooper S. It's analog youth rebellion.
A very kinetic choice, Jim. The tempo matches the chassis telemetry perfectly. However, I am looking at the architectural precision of the car. The crisp lines, the stark contrast of the white roof against the indigo blue, the geometric perfection of the Union Jack graphic. Therefore, I am selecting Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures.
Joy Division? In a Mini? That's a bit bleak, isn't it?
It is not bleak, it is post-punk architectural brilliance. The bass line is precise. The drums are almost mechanical in their exactness. The album cover itself is a literal data visualization of radio emissions from a pulsar. It is the exact sonic equivalent of a high-contrast, perfectly engineered machine navigating a cold, urban environment. Let us know what you are listening to in the comments of our Instagram post.
You picked an album based on a data visualization of a dead star. You are a terrifyingly consistent human being, Amber.
I appreciate the compliment. All right, the telemetry has been gathered. It is time to render our final verdicts. The garage rating: green light, amber light, or red light. Jim, you've been smiling for the last 20 minutes. Let's have your rating on the Mini Cooper S Oxford Edition.
I despise the modern trend of turning cars into disposable smartphones. I hate that the industry is abandoning its heritage. But Mini hasn't. They built a car in the exact same facility they've been using since 1959. They kept the internal combustion engine. They gave it proper 18-inch wheels, tactile steering wheel textures, and they even threw in a walking stick, for God's sake. It is a celebration of everything that makes driving fun. It is an unhesitating, joyful green light from me.
A green light from the analog soul. Unsurprising, but well-deserved. Now, for my rating. As I noted, Wednesday is usually reserved for the electric revolution. Looking at a 6.7 liter per 100 kilometers combustion engine feels like a step backward in the timeline.
Here comes the digital hammer.
However, I cannot ignore the exceptional execution of the design logic. The visual anchors, the roof graphic, the asymmetric floor mats, the precise color palettes are applied with an incredible level of restraint and sophistication. It honors the 25-year milestone of the modern era beautifully. But because it relies on the internal combustion equation, rather than pushing the platform into an 800-volt electric future, I have to penalize it slightly. I am giving the Mini Cooper S Oxford Edition a very strong, highly respectful amber light.
You just couldn't give the petrol engine a full pass, could you?
I have my principles, Jim, just as you have your carburetors. That wraps up this episode of The Studio. You can read my full blog post, The Oxford Equation, and explore the full high-resolution gallery of the Oxford Edition in our garage archive at theautobrief.news.
And be sure to sign up for our Friday newsletter, The Telegram. I'll be writing a 2,000-word defense of the walking stick umbrella, typed exclusively on a machine that doesn't require a software patch.
I look forward to scanning the ink. I'm Amber Light. The future is approaching fast. Don't blink.
And I'm Jim Khana. Keep the shiny side up.